Hey guys, welcome to Ben Wrenchin. My name is Ben. Today I'm wrenching on this 2012 Honda Civic. I'm going to change out the alternator. It's right here. And the first thing I'm going to start with is disconnecting the battery. These are 10mm nuts. With the battery disconnected, we can start to remove the alternator. Got a couple electrical connectors. This one's just got a push tab on the top. Pull it out. This one right here I was able to get under with a pick and pull it out. It looks like it's supposed to have some kind of clip. Looks like mine's broken. And the last one is underneath this boot here. Underneath this boot is a 10mm nut. And once I've got that off, I can just pull this right out and set that aside as well. So once we've got those three disconnected, we can remove these brackets that hold on the connectors. There's two mounting bolts, they're 12mm. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and take off the drive belt. There's a 19mm tensioner right here. So I've got my 19mm wrench on it and another wrench to get extra leverage. Pull this back as far as I can and slide the belt off the alternator pulley. And the bungee cord will hold tension on the belt so it doesn't come off any of the other pulleys. Next, I can remove this wiring harness bracket. It's just got a 10mm bolt. And now that that's loose, we can move the wiring harness out of the way and do the same for this wiring harness bracket here. For this bracket bolt here, I had to get a long 10mm socket. And that frees up this wiring harness. And now all that's left are these two 12mm mounting bolts. There's one on the top here, and there's also one down here on the front of the alternator. There's really just no good way to get to that front bolt. I did get a ratcheting 12mm wrench on it and broke it loose, and now it's coming out by hand. And I can also put a long socket on it and loosen it up until I can move it by hand. The belt is getting in the way a little bit, so if you can take the belt all the way off, that's helpful. There's that front bolt. Finally got it out, and the top one's way easier to get out. Try some PB Blaster if it's not coming out easy. And that one's quite a bit longer, but there it is. And with both of those out, I can go ahead and put my pry bar in here, pry the alternator out of position. And there we go. Got it out. And I got this new one at AutoZone, but I set it next to the old one and compared to make sure that the bolt holes are in the same locations. Everything looks good, so I'll go ahead and install this one. The new one comes with a new nut on the ground post, so make sure you take that off first. And we'll just set this in here and line up the top mounting bolt. And we can push that bolt through to line it up and then tighten it down a little bit, but not all the way yet, so that we can line up the bottom bolt. And I'll get the bottom bolt in place and then just rock the alternator up and down until I can feel it catch into the threads of where it mounts to. It really is just not a good way to get to that front bolt. The best thing I found for some reason is just a 12mm ratcheting wrench. And there I've got that wrench on that front bolt. So I can get a long 12mm socket on there with this 3/8 drive swivel head ratchet and tighten it up. There we go. So that's tight. That was actually a 1/2 inch long socket because I don't have a 12mm long socket, but 1/2 inch is close enough. And that one's tight. And I can go ahead and get the electrical connector mounting brackets back on. Alright, and I'll get this connector back on. Put this down in there. It's got a little notch, so it's supposed to sit in there just like this. Tighten this down 10mm. And then put the boot back on and make sure that it's seated properly. If the boot gets pinched like this right here, just loosen it up a little bit and free it up so that you can seat it down in there properly. There we go, that looks better. And now I can tighten it back down. And that feels better. And I'll reconnect this electrical connector. And this one here goes back here. And we've got all three of these connected. We've got both of the mounting brackets back on. So now we're ready to put the belt back on. Alright, so now all I gotta do is release the tension on the belt and get the belt back around the pulley. And just make sure the belt is still around all the other pulleys. Don't forget to take your wrench out. And then we'll just reconnect the negative terminal on the battery. Don't want to over tighten it, but you want to make sure that the connection's good. And with that, I think I'm done. So I'm going to check one more time and make sure the belt orientation looks good around all the pulleys. And I think everything looks good. So I'm going to go ahead and start it. Make sure you got all your tools out of the engine bay before you close the hood. And we'll start it up and just listen for any weird noises. And if your battery's got low voltage like mine, you can get one of these jump starters. This thing's great. I'll link it in the description. Or if your battery pack's dead like mine, you can just jump it off your other Honda. And everything sounds good. So I think we're in good shape. So now we're getting a number of warnings, I would assume because we had the battery disconnected for so long. So we'll give those time to cycle through. But none of them is the original warning that we saw, which said, check charging system. So I'll have to go in and clear all these codes. I can show how to do that in another video. But it's running and everything looks good. So I think we're done. It's snowing pretty heavy, so I'm going to end this here. Thanks for watching. Make sure to check out my other content on this 2012 Honda Civic. And I'll catch you guys in the next video.